Joel, Ellie, Tommy, Bill. To some people, these words are basically meaningless, but to fans of a certain group of zombie survivors, these words mean the entire world. I recently played through The Last of Us Part 1, a remake of the 2013 PS3 game that forever changed cinematic games, for better or for worse, and aside from being constantly impressed that a remake advertised as The Last of Us if it looked better is just The Last of Us if it looked better, my brain began to do the usual thing it does during my replays: notice. Now each time I replay this game, I always pick out and remember different things that my brain overlooked or forgot, not just because The Last of Us is one of the densest stories out there, but because games always have characters lost in the couch cushions. You know, the NPCs you always walk by, the quest givers who need their town saved, they're all forgotten right after their quest marker fades away. However, this time was different. I noticed something about one of the characters I often ignore in my replays, so I want you to try to remember how the story of The Last of Us started. It wasn't Joel who wanted to take the job, it was Tess. Tess is a rightfully overlooked character in The Last of Us, serving mostly as a tutorial and exposition giver who dies 2 hours in. She serves to show how Joel's life has changed following his daughter's death now that he's a smuggler. He's violent, angry, with Tess using that to help her business. Along with that, she guides him through gameplay, telling him where to go, giving him advice on kills, and providing medkits, all things done to help the player. She brings all the pieces together by taking the job to smuggle Ellie in return for the guns Robert sold to someone else. However, that initial choice to attack Robert directly is what tingled my gamer sense, the same sense that tells you to follow the yellow paint and the waypoints. It felt very anti-The Last of Us to me. Joel and Ellie's quest is a very reserved one, where they want to interact with as few people as possible and leave their emotions out of anything. They never go looking for a fight. Joel tries everything to forget about the past and keep himself and Ellie safe. This made Tess's purely petty revenge on Robert something I was only able to pick up on replays, because it doesn't feel like The Last of Us, which you only got after you played The Last of Us. Instead, what it felt to me like was Uncharted. Tess gives one-liners after each kill, she has only money on her mind and lets her emotions drive her actions, dragging Joel with her. These are all things that have parallels with Nathan Drake, more so than any other character in The Last of Us. And with how she bosses Joel around and gives him the nickname Texas, he began to feel more like Sully.
Ladies first.
Lady, you must be thinking of someone else.
That's all relative.
Can't reach us. Come on over here, I'll give you a boost.
All right.
Come on, gorgeous, jump up.
Yeah.
You got a great ass, Sully.
Thanks. Here you go, kid.
But matching her so closely to someone who players were already familiar with, her tutorial actions also help ease the player into the world of The Last of Us. By now, all of us who have played The Last of Us love Joel. But consider the perspective of someone from 2013, only familiar with the Uncharted games. You go from Nathan Drake, this cool 20-something treasure-hunting, plane-jumping, rocket launcher-shooting Indiana Jones guy, to Joel, a 50-year-old depressed criminal who wants to take no risks and lay pretty low. A pretty significant leap from the two characters, but here comes Tess, someone who acts close enough to Nathan, showing you the ropes in this world. It's exactly who you wanted. It gives you the impression that this world might not be too different from Uncharted. Then you make it to Town Hall and lose her. That cool exterior is broken, and she breaks down when she sees what happened, and now you're left to realize that Nathan Drake wouldn't work in The Last of Us. The Last of Us isn't devoid of petty emotional characters, but usually they're on the other side of the gun in-game. Marlene, Henry, Bill's partner Frank, David, and even Joel in the second game all die because they let their emotions get the better of them. Tess is just the first of these victims, and because the game has established her as a parallel to a character that fans of Naughty Dog's games would connect to, her death sends ripples throughout the story. It sends the message that if Nathan Drake, the guy who jumped between two falling trains, can die to an infected at any second, then maybe Joel is right. Maybe you do have to be quiet and distant in order to stay safe. It's like I said, Tess is a tutorial character. Her death is just another lesson. However, this isn't the only aspect of her character. We have yet to discuss the maternal side of her. Being a tutorial character means caring for the player, and by goodness does Joel need someone to care for him at the beginning of the story. Her actions of care establish her as someone who wants to keep Joel alive. These actions not only educate the player, but also guide a man lost in grief. Her caring for him in and out of combat shows her initial connection to Joel that he tried to ignore throughout the story. This also happens with Ellie when she finds out that she's immune. latching onto this aspect, believing that there is more hope in this world. And again, we see her put her emotions into something, which The Last of Us doesn't like its characters to do. However, understanding the maternal aspects begins to show a darker side of The Last of Us story. Why is it bad to be a motherly figure in The Last of Us when Joel's quest makes him into a fatherly figure to Ellie? Ignoring the sequel, I see this as another lesson in The Last of Us, to not be a motherly figure. Men in this world can be a father figure because they're stronger, they can fight back the infected and not get bitten, they're allowed to connect emotionally because they can make it across the country and live to tell the tale. The women who allow themselves to connect emotionally and care in the way a mother would, die. It's a very sexist aspect of the story that is often overlooked. And all of this is shown in just one character, who dies before speedrunners have even made it to the cannibals. It's always a fun feeling replaying a game and noticing things you missed on your first go-around. Games are often very long, and you can't spend every hour thinking and talking to everyone. So, when I revisit a game where I know the overall story, I like to see what the smaller characters are all about. What are the townspeople giving you the quest to collect 5 boar hides trying to say? Do the mentors and masters that educate the player have any more significance outside of giving the player their quests? Hidden in dialogue boxes by underground moles and fairies sent out by giant trees, are characters written to say something. Maybe not always something good, but something nonetheless. And I want you to find that something next time, whenever you next replay your favorite game.